December may seem a quiet month in the garden, but actually it's one of the best months that you can get ahead for next year. In today's video, we should look at 6 seeds that you can still sow now. We should look at some plants that you could be planting in your new dig garden during the month of December. And also, we should look at 5 products myself and Mrs. W use all year round that would make amazing Christmas presents. The days are short and the soil is cold. There are still things that we can sow, plant and prep ready for next season. December is the ideal month to be checking and maintaining the tools that you use in the garden so that they're ready to go once next spring arrives. Also, it's a good time to organize your seed tin and ensure that you know what you're going to or need to order for the following year. And of course, getting those Christmas presents ready, especially with Black Friday tomorrow. You could be sowing your onions in December. It's always been seen as Boxing Day as a traditional day to sow your onion seeds. That won't be happening for myself and Mrs. W. And I got a video coming out very soon detailing and explaining why we don't sow our onion seeds in December. It's not a time to be planting sets. That time has passed now. That was October and the early part of November. It's not too late to sow garlic. Now, we sowed our garlic outdoors back in October, wasn't it, Mrs. W?
Yes, it was, yeah.
But we still haven't sown any in this polytunnel. That's for a number of reasons. Normally, I would have liked to have gotten in there a bit earlier. But we've had quite a bit on. And we just simply haven't got around to it. You can still be sowing lettuce, but it does need to be winter hardy lettuce. What we've found works really well is the winter density. You can see here, they're coming on really well. And the other one that we've sown, but it's not ready to harvest yet, is this variety called Valmain. Now, Susie recommended this to us, and we thought, yeah, we'd like to give that a go. So we'll report back on that once that's just ready to harvest. But the great thing about it is, and I think I said on the video back in November for the November sowings, is that it says on here you can sow this right up to January. Amazing to be sowing this in January and still getting some fresh lettuce harvest right at the very beginning of spring. A lot of you have asked about this rocket, this wild rocket. It can be sown all year around. During the warmer times of the year, it can be prone to bolting, but certainly at this time of the year, that's not going to happen. And what I would say is for any of these that we're talking about, when you sow at this time of the year, it's like January and February sowings. Make sure you take them down to your house where they have a bit of warmth to germinate. It's important that the seeds have warmth to germinate. Once they have germinated, so long as they're frost hardy, you can bring them up like to a polytunnel up here where we are, where they can receive the full light and get themselves going. They will need heat to germinate. You can still be sowing some Mizuna. And what I would advise is that if you're going to be sowing Mizuna is to do what we did and to sow it into these containers. You can see here, it's looking so good, this Mizuna, and we've really enjoyed it, haven't we, Mrs. W?
It's the first time we've ever grown it.
Yeah.
I really like it,
yeah,
yes.
Really amazing taste to it, lovely and crispy too. It's contained within the container, but also, if it really does get cold, we know we can always move this container down to the house if we need to, and then we can bring them back up here once the days and nights warm up a little bit. Usually here in our New Dig Norfolk garden, and in Zone 9A, it's where we grow, that's the zone we grow in, we don't have really cold winters as a rule. It's not to say it can't get cold, but if it does get really cold, it doesn't tend to last for that long. And then lastly, to sow 2 of our most favourite herbs, parsley and oregano. Now these can be sown into a small pot, and then you can take them down to your house where they'll germinate and then leave them there on your windowsill, the sunniest windowsill you have. And you'll have some fresh harvests of these over the coming weeks. And what we have done before and what you can do then is that once the spring gets here, you can then just take them out of those pots and pot them into your herb bed. They'll already be established. A lot of people ask me why I sow these into deep modules. Can you see the taproot coming out here? It's free and able to do what it wants to do. These shall be planted out this month. In fact, in the next few days, myself and Mrs. W should be setting these out. And
On my list.
this seed was saved from our broad beans that we harvested this May of this year. We kept some back so that we were able to sow that seed. We know it comes true. We know that the germination rate is, I wouldn't say it's always 100%. We have been quite lucky here, but there's normally only the odd one that doesn't actually germinate. And you will find that if you save your own seed. Do you know, I just brushed those, Mrs. W, and I can really smell the broad bean tops.
Yeah, no. Lovely smell.
It is amazing. Don't worry if you don't have these deep root trainers, though. You know, I grow them in these because I have them and I can. But if you don't have them and you have the slightly shallower modules, it's fine. They'll just wind their way around, and then once you do set them into the ground, they will find their way down into your soil. I had these, so I used them. Another thing is that it was minus 1.2 degrees last night. So what we did do is we used some fleece to protect these citrus bushes that we have. Mrs. W, those lemons do look very good.
I know, I do hope they're not going to drop off.
But yeah, even if you don't have citrus, some things are not quite as hardy as other things. And if that's the case and you know you're going to be getting, a quite hard frost, then yeah, just use a bit of fleece and just fleece things over. Things like the turnips that we've got in here, the beetroot, even the lettuce and the pak choi, they're not really going to be affected hugely by the frost that we've been having. It's going to need to get an awful lot colder for that to happen. And that might come in January. Who knows?
We could have a white Christmas.
Yeah, that's another thing, actually. We did see on the weather the other day that there's something going on up in the atmosphere, which could change the wind direction. So if you're like us and you live on the eastern side of the country and that wind changes, that's how the beast from the east actually started a few years back. But I don't think it's going to get as bad as that, but it does mean that the easterly wind is much colder, and of course it draws in that cold air from the east. That's one thing that we do suffer with on the eastern side of the country. So, yeah, look out for that if you're like us and live on the east. One thing I was going to say, Mrs. W, I think it was John, said to me, you've got all these things here, but what's happened? Why have you left all those spaces? Here is your answer, John. I've moved the potatoes in here because over the last week or so, we've seen nighttime temperatures that have been below freezing. And as we all know, potatoes don't like frost. There are people out there that think that you shouldn't bother planting potatoes toward the back end of the year. And as far as yield goes, they're probably right. But there is something immensely satisfying when you plant some potatoes mid to late August. And then when you get to early December to late December, and you're one of those lucky people that will be able to come up to your polytunnel or into your shed where you're storing them and be able to pick some nice, fresh, new potatoes.
Delicious.
And I know we've got some because I've had a little scratch around. I won't show you the full harvest now, but that is a Maris pear. And there are several of them in this 30-litre container. December is a great time to be planting out your bare-rooted fruit bushes. Self and Mrs. W, we grow raspberries, we grow gooseberries, black and red currants, blackberries, and strawberries. That you can see here that we have strawberries ready to eat right now. That shows you just how mild it's been up until this last week. But you can be planting these things out. They'll be fine. As I say, so long as the ground is not frozen, they can be planted out. They'll get their roots down, and then, with a bit of luck, they will give you some lovely fruit next year. For those of us, if you're like us and you already have these bushes, now is the time to be getting on top of your pruning. We should be talking about the pruning regime that we do on our soft fruit in a future video. And now on to the 5 products that myself and Mrs. W genuinely use. They make our life so much easier, whether it be doing things in the garden or preserving and doing things here in the No Dig Norfolk Gardener's kitchen. First of all, grow lights. Now, we don't have a huge expensive system when it comes to grow lights. We literally need to use them to get certain plants going a little bit earlier, and so that they don't become leggy. If you've ever tried growing things in the month of January, the light levels are still quite low. Not as bad as December, but they're still quite low. And things like aubergines, chilies, peppers, they really do need quite a long growing season. So if you can start them early, it will only benefit the way that you grow them. And using grow lights is one of the ways you can do that. We actually purchased these the beginning of this year, didn't we, Mrs. W?
I think I bought them for you for Christmas last year, didn't I?
While you're talking about that, Mrs. W, all of these 5 things would make absolute amazing Christmas presents for the gardener in your life. All you need to do is to visit our shop. There is a link in the description below. But back to the grow lights. There are 5 trays to this set, and in each tray we have 12 plugs, which is more than enough for myself and Mrs. W and probably most of you guys. So from each tray I can sow 12 chilies and 12 peppers really quite easily, and then 12 aubergines. And then once we switch them on, they have this full spectrum of light. And all you do with these is to just clip them from the top. Like so. And they just sit on top, like you see I've got with this one. And they really do work. Ever since we have overwintered our pepper and chili plants, every year we always sow some more, just in case we do get those losses. We wouldn't want to be without our chilies or our peppers. For us, we don't use them for anything else other than those plants that need a long growing season, but which are difficult for us to sow at the right time without some help from some artificial light. These are not overly expensive and they do the job very well. The next thing are these module trays. Now, yes, you can get cheaper module trays, and they'll be cheap plastic ones. But what you'll often find is that after 2 or 3 seasons, they will be shredded to pieces. Also, whenever you want to carry something out into the garden, they bend. They bend all over the place. These don't do that. They don't do it at all. This plastic can be reused. So it's not one of those things that, is a single use and then it goes to landfill. These can be reused again. But before they even get to that point, these will last a good 10 years or more. Myself and Mrs. W have had these, they're now 5 years old.
I think 5 or 6 years, aren't they? Yes. Yeah. And they're perfect still, and nothing wrong with them at all.
Oh, yes. And although we have many different sizes that we have bought and that we use, I would always say that if you're starting out, use this size first. These are 40mm holes. And there are 40 in this particular module. So you could sow, if you're sowing brassicas at the beginning of the year, you could have cauliflowers, cabbages, calibres. You can sow enough in there and they don't take a huge amount of space up on your potting bench. You can have all of those sown all in one go. What I do like about these is that they have nice big holes at the bottom. As you can see, I have quite big fingers. So I can pop my finger in there, which pops the module out, and it's easy to then transplant into its final growing position. Now, they are available in different sizes. Once you visit our shop, you'll be able to see the different sizes that there are and decide which sizes you would like to use. You can see just how well these work here with the broad beans that we sowed back in October. They're doing really well in these modules.
For me in the kitchen, I would not want to be without my preserving pan. It's used so frequently all year round, really, and especially when I'm preserving the glut of fruits that we get in the garden and chutneys, making chutneys. I also use it sometimes for batch cooking chilies and casseroles and stews and things. It's a really versatile pan to have. It's stainless steel. It works on our induction hob, which is a bonus. It has really helpful measurements guide inside, a lovely handle, pouring spout, and handle to help when you're decanting things from it. Mr. W bought me this quite a few years ago, and I definitely would not want to be without it. And I think this makes a perfect gift for those people who really enjoy preserving and making most of their harvests from their garden all year round. And the second thing that I would definitely recommend as a fantastic present for people, especially those people who do a lot of chutneys and things like that, is this 9-in-1 vegetable chopper. It's quite new to me. It was a new present from Mr. W this year, and I have used this so much, and it definitely helps and cuts down the time that it takes to individually chop all your vegetables when you're making chutneys and stews and casseroles and things like that. Comes with various different attachments. It has a large dicer, a small dicer, a lemon juicer, egg separator, egg slicer, and what was the other one? Is there another one? Oh yes, and the spiralizer attachment as well. It also comes with handy peeler and the cleaning utensils. These are, I will warn you, very sharp. I've learned at my own cost that they are very sharp, but because they are so sharp, they are so efficient. And just to demonstrate this, you just put your piece of, in this case, it's a piece of potato, large dice, and hit it hard. And look at those perfect little chunks of potatoes. You have there's a safety lock on the blade. So when you're removing the blade, you take that out. Just to demonstrate, this is the smaller blade. Pop that in, lock it back. This time I'm going to chop a few onions. This is a really good implement if you are into batch cooking and freezing as well. Saves such a lot of time. Just simply put your onion in, give it a good batch, and there you have perfect little onion dice. I wish I had had this implement many years ago. It would have saved me so much time in my life chopping vegetables. I'd highly recommend it.
The last thing from me that we use in our garden, these 30-litre containers. We originally bought these to grow our potatoes in. After that initial use, we actually found that we could grow so much more in these containers. The depth is there, the drainage is there, and they work really well. This year, we have successfully grown sweet corn, courgettes, squash, carrots, peppers, so many things that we grew in containers on our patio. And I specifically wanted to say about these because if all you have is a patio, around about the size of myself and Mrs. W's, it's not a huge patio, you can grow some of your own food. You may not be able, you wouldn't be able to grow food all year round like us to try and sustain yourself, but you can certainly grow quite a bit of it and have your own fresh potatoes or carrots or whatever you choose that you want to grow in these containers. It's just amazing. It'll save you a bit of money off your food bill, and of course you'll have the very best version that these vegetables can be. They have really good drainage holes that lets the water run through. Really, all you need to do is to remember to water it as often as it needs watering. And as you can see here, they will produce amazing vegetables. Have a bonus thing that you could buy the gardener in your life for Christmas. This calendar really works. It has all of our sowing dates in here. It also has succession sowings It's explained nice and clearly on the back. Has space for notes at the back, so you can make notes as you go along through the year. And it has some amazing pictures, all from our no dig Norfolk garden. For those of you that have already bought this sowing calendar, I know you've left us some amazing feedback, and we really thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because you really are helping us by supporting our channel. There's a link in the description. All you need to do is click on it and grab yourself your copy today. You can see there's still things that you could be sowing in the month of December. And in particular, any of your own soft fruit. Great time to plant it at this time of the year. I know that our grandchildren get much pleasure in eating our own fresh raspberries and strawberries. I often get there before myself and Mrs. W.
They do.
If you like this video, then do leave us a thumbs up and leave us a comment. This will help us reach many more gardeners who can see just what we get up to in our No Dig Norfolk garden, and hopefully they can get some tips and hacks that will help them grow great vegetables. A bit later on this month, you'll be able to see exactly what we shall be harvesting from our No Dig garden here in Norfolk. But we had some amazing harvests during the month of November. You want to see what we were harvesting? Watch this next.